Are you happy? Are you deep down satisfied with the person you are, how you're living your life, and the future as it appears today? Do you have a passion? Is there any one thing in your life that is so important that it makes prioritizing everything else simple? If the answer to any of those questions is no, do you have any idea why? Welcome to the Verimour Speaks podcast. I'm your host, Dawn Keegan, co-founder of the dating app Verimour and the nonprofit app Hero Harbor. Happiness, mine and that of others, is something that's always been very important to me. I've devoted my life to understanding how we take the things life throws at us and combine that with our own special gifts to come away with an experience that, while not always perfect, is one we are proud of and allows us the fewest regrets and least amount of heartache. Whether through my personal musings or conversations with guests, the aim here is not to find a one-size-fits-all to-do list of change, but instead a mindset that lessens our fear, reduces judgment of ourselves and others, and frees each individual to build the life that truly represents happiness for them. Thank you for joining us on the Verimour Speaks podcast. I've always worked to provide the most honest, helpful content I could in forms that reach the largest possible audience. And my extreme dislike of greed-driven organizations means I do so without ads or sponsors. But for us to continue improving with better guests and more consistent production quality, we need your help. If you have found any value in what we do and the content provided, please show us a little love by making a contribution directly to the podcast or as a tax-deductible donation on the heroharbor.org website. Thank you again for listening, and please enjoy the show.
Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls.
Welcome back. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Marine Corporal Ray Lopez. Here I am stumbling over myself. He has an Instagram and Facebook accounts for PTSD bottles. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But welcome, Ray. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm excited to be talking to you.
Yeah, we've done a little bit of phone tag, so to speak, with this, back and forth. You're on the West Coast, so that makes things, the West Coast stuff makes things problematic with timing and all such. Oh, yeah. But I am so glad you're here. And since nobody else is going to be able to see it, Ray has shown up today with a really nice bright red marine
sweater.
Yeah, hoodie, sweater. Yeah, I was getting ready to say you're in California, so it can't be that cold.
It's cold right now. For us, it's in the 40s. That's cold.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Florida, and daggum, it's like one day, seriously, you're wearing a parka. It's for us, cold is in the 40s, like you said. But then the next day, you're sweating because it's in the 70s. I don't know, whatever. It's just crazy. All right, Ray. So usually I start everybody with just asking how you ended up in the Marine Corps. What was that story?
Oh man, I guess since I was a kid, I always wanted to join the military. Just seeing footages back in the day, just war movies and stuff with my dad, and then my grandpa was in the Korean War. Uncles were in Vietnam, and then my uncle joined the army when I was a kid. My dad's brother. And just saw, that family tradition. Mm-hmm. And then just, I was the first one to go Marines. Mm-hmm. Everyone else was Army, Navy, and turns out I had an uncle that also served during the Korean War. He was in the Air Force. So I was like, well, you know what? I'm the first. I'll be the first Marine in the family. Everyone thought I was freaking crazy. They're like, you're psycho.
I was already in. Yeah, I was
my parents were like, no, you're not going in. I was like, look, I'm 18. Either you sign it for me, or I'm going to sign it for myself. So they gave in, and I always, seen the Marines as the best, just, hard, and just, I did my research. I did the research on the boot camps and everything. And I mean, to me, they just seem like that's not for me. You know, those are a month. I don't know what can you get out of a month.
Right,
2
right.
months. I'm like, 3 months. You know, that's a challenge. So I was like, you know what, let's do this. And yeah, sure enough, you know, August 2nd, 1994, right out of high school, went in, and my mom hated it because it was her birthday, so she wasn't too happy.
That's not a good birthday present. Okay, you said what year was that? Because I was talking over you, and I'm sorry.
August 2nd, 1994.
Okay, so we just missed each other because I got out in November of '93. So you went to the recruiter and you just took whatever job they offered you?
Yeah, I was like, you know, I barely passed. I mean, I was decent in grades and stuff, but nothing. Just to me, the ASVAB was, you know, a little bit difficult.
Right.
But I barely passed. You know, just squeezed my way in through, barely made it. And they're like, you know, these are the jobs that offered, and one of them was being a grunt. I was like, well, put me as that. You know, I don't care. You know, I'll do whatever. I just wanted to, earn my title, travel, do things and, better myself. I was really intrigued about the college. At the time I wasn't ready for college. I always felt that, I didn't have the brains for it, but, if I can get the GI Bill, I know sooner or later, if I got out or stayed in, I can use that. So that was my main selling point.
College is more perseverance than it is intelligence. A lot of times, sometimes it's just a matter of sticking out, kind of like boot camp. It's like you gotta keep your head down and focus, and you'll get there. So
so throughout my whole time, I thought I was gonna be a grunt. Checked into SOI. They're like, no, you're supposed to go to MCT. I was like, okay, and then sure enough, your MOS is gonna be 0151. I'm like, what the hell's that? They're like admin. I was like, shit. I joined the Marines to be a secretary. That's always my brothers were messing with it. You went to the Marines to become a secretary. I told them, you know what, the secretary could kick your ass.
Yeah, I had years ago. We always have the inter-service rivalry, but I had this Air Force woman was giving me a hard time about Air Force are smarter and this and that, and I was like, bitch. Please. I was public affairs, so I did have a pretty decent score. I said, so I am smart enough to be in the Air Force, but I like you said, I can kick your ass too. So
I'll tell people, I can stab you many ways with the fucking stapler, with the paper clip, with the pin. I'll fuck you up.
That's right. Okay, so how long were you in?
I was in 6 years. 6 years. God, there was fun time. I was stationed in Pendleton with the 1 MEF. At the time, I don't know how I got picked to be part of the General Zini's freaking admin, his personal admin clerk and stuff. And I went in as a PFC like that. I was like, wow, it was like working for the president.
Right.
I got to do a lot of cool things, got to see a lot of things, got a secret clearance, was able to, to see stuff that, it's crazy, the technology and the stuff that we have out there to, well, I guess you can say spy on other countries and stuff, but you knew everything that was going on, and just be part of his, his own personal staff was awesome. I got to learn how to shoot the 9mm. Got to, became one of the drivers, driving here and there, different locations on and off base. It was just amazing. It was like taking care of the president. That's what it felt like, because we're always getting calls from the White House, the Commandant, and at the time it was Commandant General Krulak, and he was hilarious. He would call our office saying he was Tom Cruise and stuff, and we're like, I'm picking up as a PFC. I'm like, sir, I'll go to his secretary, ma'am. I got this person that says it's Tom Cruise on the line, and they start laughing. That's the Commandant. I'm like, and then I get even more scared. I'm like, oh shit, it's the Commandant.
And I'm sure you experienced this the same thing. The higher up in rank they were, the easier going they were. It was. And second lieutenants that would, get all heads up their butts about, saluting and all that kind of stuff. But something else you just made me think of is that, and that's one of the reasons, to not discount anybody because of their job. Now, I took part in Desert Storm. They came to, I was stationed at Parris Island, so we weren't deployable, but they came to our office. They were looking for replacement people for the ones they were bringing home. And I already had a significant part of my family was over there, and I'm a Marine. That's what you're supposed to do. You might not have another chance. So anyway, I went, and they sent us all as one big replacement regiment, and we were at Camp Gray, and we were getting all kind of crap about, because as I said, I was public affairs. They were saying, the PX guys, or whatever we called them back then, the commissary, the anyway, those people, and they said, PO, oh, you guys will be forever. We were the first ones out. Whatever reason, we were the first ones to be sent. And like you said, I did numerous things in 3 weeks and saw so much in 3 weeks that my brother didn't see in 7 months of being over there. So it's, you can't count somebody out for the job that they do, because you just never know. And especially if you're good at what you do, if you're personable, whatever, opportunities avail themselves. And so it's, don't ever count anybody out because you think they're a pogue or whatever.
But even then, we still harass each other.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Being with the meth, I always go with driving the general around or other events that we had or stuff. Of course, the grunts would like to fuck with me, and I'll fuck with them too. That's the way it was. You bullshit with each other. The
PAO worked directly for the base general, so I would more than once see my I can't remember his name right. I can picture him, but I can't think of his name. But I'd see of course. Forgive me, I may be old, but it was also almost 30 years ago, so I think I get a pass on that one. But anyway, I'd see him in the base gym, and he'd say something to me directly and stuff, or if I was out doing another interview with something and run into him, because we worked directly for him. I mean, he whatever. Anyway, point is, you just never know.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I know you say to me, when we were talking off air, didn't you tell me that you had hoped to do an entire career, right?
Yeah, I was, I re-enlisted right at my 4-year mark, re-enlisted. I was like, okay, that's my goal was, hopefully retire, do 20,
right?
Retire, freaking, all I wanted to do was just retire and deliver beer the rest of my life. I was like, shit, what perfect house job can you do? Stuff that we like as Marines is beer. But just everything just started to change. After about 4.5 years, after I re-enlisted, then I went down to at the time it was El Toro. When we were at El Toro, just things started happening. Started gaining weight. Couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. Did some blood work. Found out the thyroid was off. And at that time, if the thyroid was off in the civilian world, it's a problem. In the military world, it wasn't. It had to reach a certain level. So I started gaining weight. Didn't know what was going on. Freaking my back gives up, just trying to, I was running 6 miles a day in the gym. I was just doing what I could to stay in because I didn't want to get kicked out. And next thing you know, my back gave out. Then, the thyroid just kicked in. And I just blew up quick, and it just, dealing with all that, dealing with the, not the meds, but the medical boards.
Right.
Making sure that I was at least okay. They wanted to, do surgery. I was like, you know what? Nah, let's put that as the last option. And like either we do surgery and see if we can work better or stuff. And by the time, the surgeons weren't that great. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to risk it. And everybody that was getting surgeries before me were not the same. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'll just separate then. Right. But it was tough because, during that whole time, I was addicted. I got addicted to painkillers because they were just feeding me painkillers left and right. Instead of trying to see what was the problem, boom, painkillers. And by the time I started saying, hey, shouldn't I be getting like at least a CAT scan or an MRI to see what the hell's causing all this pain? Then they decided to do it. And then they saw they had like bulging discs from me just, terrorizing myself, working out just to stay in. And, oh man, just those painkillers would put me at a different place during that time. It was tough for me and my family. And, it was, it's crazy.
I'm starting to think that if the military ever quit pushing pills and, the VA and everything else, that the daggone pharmaceutical industry would go out of business. Because VA is one giant pill pushing machine. Okay. So, all right. So what year did you get out?
I got out in 01, January of 2001.
Wow. You just
right before,
missed it. Yeah.
And then it's, because I'm right before 9/11, I don't qualify for all this other stuff. So it's like, I'm kind of like in a catch-22.
Yeah.
Space,
I've had more than one Marine refer to the big green weenie and as the reason they got out, and it's unfortunate. I mean, it's just because most of us have really good careers, but you just never know. Okay, so now tell me when you got out, you had not had surgery or anything at that point.
No, I had no surgeries. I started working. I started working for a company out in San Diego doing, they were checking the sewer lines. At the time, the sewer lines in San Diego were being backed up. I got a certificate to do hazmat work, so that came up. So I was like, you know what, it pays good money. So I did that for a year, but then I mean, there was checking the sewer, so it was a shitty job, and I was like, I got to do something else, you know. And
Right.
so then I just looked into getting my education and you know, went back to school, and just you know, throughout the whole time was never the same. When I first got out, I got 90% right away from the VA, which was like a blessing. I'm like, oh, thank God, I was you know happy. But then you know, everything caught up. Within the last 10 years, I mean, everything caught up with my back. I had 3 surgeries, laminectomy done. I was stuck in a wheelchair for a while. I mean, it was just left and right, off and on. And even then, I'm still at 90%. The only reason I didn't get 100 because I started walking. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I met him.
You know, the last 10 years just been in and out of the hospital, spine infections, car accidents that weren't my fault, you know, just things left and right. And every time, you know, I thought that I was never going to walk again. You know, I think that's just that maroon mentality that we have. And then I have a strong, you know, faith base in myself too, that, you know, it's God, man, I don't know. I thank God every day that I can keep moving my legs. So I've seen a lot of other brothers and sisters at the VA, they can't. And they wish they could, they can keep walking. So for me, that's motivation, you know, for, you know, to be able to do things for them. Or, you know, because I know if it was the opposite, they'd be doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. And that's one of my frustrations too, is that, you know, we talked about this last night, the fact that, you know, we have to do for each other because yes, the VA is technically a resource for us, but they're run by people who don't understand. The majority of the people working there don't get it. And so we have to do for each other because we're the only ones who really, you know, understand what is needed. And sometimes what is needed is not a pill. What is needed is a shoulder, you know? Okay.
And that's one of the things I liked about La Jolla VA, that they actually care about you.
Right.
They look at alternative means, not just the pills. And I've been looking at the doctors I've had. They're like, hey, we need to cut back. You need to get at this for so much. And they've always been, when I tell them, you know what, I want to get off this. All right, well, let's weed off it then. You know, I've been blessed there. I'm
in Orlando, and like I said, I've been in this system off and on for, you know, ever since I got out in the early 90s. And this VA facility here at Lake Baldwin is hands down the best I've ever come across. Same thing, they signed me up for acupuncture because of my sleep issues and that sort of thing. So but unfortunately they're the exception and not the rule. Yeah. You know, and I mean, I mean, that's the thing. That's what's so sad is that we're so accustomed to bad care that even moderate care is just amazing. It's like, oh, thank God, you know. All right, so let me ask you, what was your relationship status when you got out?
I was married.
Okay.
Married. When I got in, after I re-enlisted, I got married. Put my wife through when I was addicted to pills and stuff. Right. And still married. She's still kicking. What was that? I'm sorry.
No, it was me. I interrupted you, but I said you're not the first story with that either. There's been some pretty amazing, you know, have hung in there. So I have said all along that no matter what your situation is, you know, being a military spouse is frequently
tough.
Yeah, because we've been trained for it. You know, we are accustomed to, you know, in fact, my first divorce, I married a Marine the first time. I was an E4, he was an E8, but he retired about the same time that we met. But part of the reason I got out was because he was Marine reconnaissance. He did 7 years, took an early retirement. He says, I don't want to be a military spouse. He knew what it meant and he did not want to do that. He had done his travels. And so, yeah, being a spouse. And as I said to you last evening, it's like, please tell her thank you. And there's always a slot available if she wants to come talk to us about it because I've yet to have that. But so there was something else I was going to ask you. Okay, so all right. So aside from the medical challenges, what else? I mean, just tell me about your transition out. Now you out processed where? In California or somewhere else?
Out of Miramar. Miramar was my last duty station.
Okay, so you were always more or less close to home, right?
Yeah, I wasn't too far away from you know, my family and friends from out here. I mean, I grew up in Fontana, and it was about from Pendleton an hour away. From Miramar, hour and a half, hour 45, depending on traffic.
So do you think that helped with the whole transition thing? I mean,
it did. I mean, as far as, you know, family was nearby. If we needed help, we had the house. So we did have a good, support system on our side that was close by, and that does help. And that's why I think now I'm the, when I meet other Marines or anybody in the military that doesn't have that nearby, me and my wife have been very friendly. That, hey, if you guys need help, we're here. Need somewhere to stay, transitioning or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
Please, we know how it is.
Yeah, yeah, and again, that's why, I'm sure I must say this with every interview, but that's why HH was created. Because that's just we are so terrible. I mean, I don't know. It was just in the last day or so that I was in just a really funk place. And it may have even been yesterday. I don't know. Anyway, I would but I will not fucking reach out and talk to anybody. If somebody says, how going or whatever, I'll admit that, I'm never going to lie, but I'll downplay it. It's like, kind of slip in that, yeah, I'm feeling yucky, or yeah, it's not been the best, but I'll never let you know to the exact degree that, how shitty I'm feeling. Because I think because I don't want to burden them. And, and it's the thing is, and it's just the stupidest thing. If somebody were to ask me, I would drop everything.
Exactly.
I would drop everything. Whatever I have, it's yours. And we are most of us are like that, and yet we don't want to lean on somebody else. It's just the craziest daggum thing.
Yeah. My family can tell when I'm having like a bad day or just shit, and they know I just leave that alone.
Yeah.
They know when I'm ready, I'll come back and be myself. And sometimes I just gotta go fucking cuss somewhere or just hit something or break something, and I'm like, all right, that's why I got my own. And that's how this whole thing with my bottles, the land started. I just needed an outlet. For fishing, I love fishing, but it gets expensive.
Right.
So I needed to find something else that was not expensive and kept me entertained. I guess just put my mindset to something else.
That reminds me, I will when we get done here, I will send you some resources. And I know it was particularly one in California, probably in your area. There's several resources of organizations, causes that like one in particular, the only one I can think of the name is called Fishing for Vets, which I love that name.
I think that, yeah.
There's several things like that, which might allow you to occasionally go out and enjoy that without the expense. Anyway, so I'll send you that sort of stuff. But what was I going to say? I want to get to the bottles here in a second. But so are you still on pain meds? Or
no, I got completely off everything. The only meds I have now is just for high blood pressure.
Right.
That, now that I'm working out again, everything's hopefully soon that'll be going away. But I got off that.
How did you do that?
The first time when I was still in with all the painkillers they were giving me, I just took 2 weeks off of leave and went cold turkey. Those first 3 days, I mean, they were tough. I remember my wife coming down one day. Late at night, she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Playing video games." And she goes, "The TV is off." I was like, "Oh shit!"
Wow.
But don't interrupt my game, damn it. Let me keep playing.
That's right. If I said I'm playing a game, I'm playing a game, damn it.
Yeah. So I mean, just that shivering, that just laying in bed and just freaking letting everything just come out of your system. It's Lord. I mean, just thinking about it just reminds me. But I had at that time it was it was frowned upon if you were addicted to anything. You would get kicked out right away. So, every time I went to doctors, hey, how are you doing with the pain meds? Oh, they're good. And that's all I say. I'm good. I don't have an addiction. I'm good. But yet again, the inside was killing me. And then, it was destroying my family. I mean, I was just putting my wife in a shitty spots, just that attitude. And it doesn't help when they throw in steroids too, because I was like, fuck, I was just a complete asshole, more asshole than what I already was.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. What a ridiculous irony that they shove all these meds at you and then say, "Oh, you're addicted, out of here." It's like, hello, wait a minute, there's that weenie again.
And even after my surgeries, I've always been very disciplined as far as not relying on the medicine. Just things that I learned from the VA, physical therapy, you got to work through the pain.
Right.
If you don't move, the pain's going to stay there and it's going to get worse. So just different things like that helped me wean off after all my surgeries and everything, just, wean off all the meds little by little.
Yeah,
so now every once in a while, if I'm really hurting, I'll smoke a joint. But that's it. But it's every once in a while, and thank God it's rare. It's rare when I do.
Yeah, I guess that's another interesting thing too.
what was it I was saying? Oh, on the one hand, well, damn it, I'm gonna end up editing this out because I can't remember what it was I was gonna say. It had to do with, it was something to do with the meds and how the screw it, I'll come back to it. Anyway, so okay, all right, so let's go ahead and talk about the PTSD bottles thing. Tell me what that is, and tell me how it helped you. Tell me what your thoughts are with it. Tell me what you want to do with it, and how we can help too.
Oh, okay, great. Well, first it started as jewelry. I started making jewelry. After my second surgery, I was stuck in a wheelchair for a while, and occupational therapy, came up to me like, hey, you want to learn to do jewelry? I was like, I ain't gonna do that shit. That's for women and stuff. She's like, please, I need one more person, and I was like, all right, what? This lady's been adorable. She's been nice. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll take your class. Man, I got hooked on that shit. I got good. I was like, holy moly.
But I can see that because
and everything.
Yeah.
Right, they're on my Facebook page. They're still on there. I still got pictures on there, but I was coming up with some really nice stuff. I was like, wow. And so I started selling that. And then, I was thinking of a name. My brother came up, hey, well, name it PTSD. I'm like, well, yeah, but, everybody's going to think I'm already crazy and shit, just. He's like, no, name it post-traumatic smooth designs. I was like, I fucking love that. That's
very creative.
Yeah, and then he gave me, and then your artist name could be Smooth Paleta. I was like, that means smooth popsicle. So it has a double meaning in Spanish. So I was like, dude, you know what? You're onto something. I love this. So I've been going by that ever since. But, I started selling, just being focused. I'm being able to do something with my hands.
Right.
It got, everything that I was feeling that day, or, just things that, that have happened, changes in my life. I just forgot about just being focused on what I was doing. And that really helped me relax, really helped me put things in perspective. And then I felt as I was accomplishing something.
Right.
Because I knew sooner or later someone might buy this, and I was going to provide some extra income for my family. So, it had it was a sense of worth. I felt like a provider because I just didn't have to rely on my wife's paycheck or whatever. At the time, I wasn't getting nothing from I wasn't getting Social Security. I wasn't unemployable yet. I just had the 90%, and we were struggling. It was a tough time. So just knowing that this might provide, a little extra, made me feel like I was worth something. I felt like a man being able to do this.
Yeah, so there's two things that I thought of when you were saying that. The first, of course, is I can see, immediately when you were talking about that, I could see how it would help because, like you said, you're focusing on something other than pain. You're not thinking about, I should be exercising, or I should be doing this, or I should be doing that. You're just focusing on what you're doing. And creating, just about any kind of creating is cathartic. It's just something for us. But then the other thing, and you touched on something that comes up in these interviews time and time again, the idea of a purpose. When we first get out, we don't know what the world holds for us. We don't know what our next path is, what our next place is. And it is really difficult for us because we come from, an environment where we know what we're doing every day. We know who we are, what we're doing, what our role is, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap. And so I can see that too, and that's awesome. That is, and it's, again, that's too. I am not especially faith-based, but I have, with the 2020 vision, hindsight of 52 years, I can look back and see, how things have, again, me joining the Marine Corps, the Marine Corps chose me because they gave me the MOS that I wanted and nobody else would, but it completely changed the course of my life. None of the things that I am doing now would have happened had I not ended up in public affairs and that sort of thing. Now, I think, there's this big misconception, it seems, about how, going in the military, well, it'll turn you around and give you discipline and this. Now, I'm not sure that's the case. If you're a disciplined person, I think, as we know, it requires a different level of discipline depending on which branch you go into. Yeah. Marines are going to be, in general, they're the type of people who are going to be disciplined regardless. And here again, my dang senility is going to kick in, and I forget what I was going to say. But just the idea that, okay, I know what it was. Is that we all tend to be, or the bulk of us tend to be kind of driven people anyway, and that's what makes us good Marines. It makes sometimes more challenging, and this is again something that has come up again and again in my Marine interviews, is that, well, and my very first interview was with an Army Ranger, this idea that, you know, we're so driven that when we get out, if we don't have a job, where, you know, I've made this comparison in the past, it's like one of those really smart dogs, like a Belgian Malinois, or, you know, a border collie, something that's so smart, and if they don't have a job, holy shit, they will ruin your life, you know, because they'll just tear up things. And it's the same thing for us. We have to have something to do. We have to have a purpose and a cause, or a mission. And it's, you know, I think that's where a whole lot of these suicides are coming from, is because, you know, I mean, we know it's a combination of things. It's like we don't have a purpose. We can't see what the future holds. Frequently, we're, you know, we're dealing with drugs or some sort of mental health label. Yeah, I was thinking about this, and I may have said this to you last evening when we were talking, just the absolute insanity that I am a perfectly normal, you know, squared away, hard charging Marine one day, and the next day I'm, you know, borderline personality disorder, bipolar. It's like, really that, you know, it's, I just, you flipped a switch and now I'm crazy. Okay. We were all crazy before, but you know what? It's different. Okay. We are just, okay.
No, but going back like to you were saying, I mean, it's that whole PTSD. You know, I thought PTSD was just for people in combat. You know, I never thought my wildest dreams that I would have that.
Yeah.
You know, and then when they said, you know, that I got diagnosed with it, I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
Right.
You know, but then, you know, yeah, my PTSD is not combat related, but I can relate to the nightmares. I can relate to the feeling I'm worthless. I can relate with the, you know, the freaking that anxiety, that wanting to freaking just kill everything inside or beat the shit out of someone, road rage, and I can relate to all that.
Yeah, and I don't think I really, really, really dislike the labels that, you know, they I don't know why it is that it's so important that we place labels on, you know, our mental health or anything. I really hate that, because it's like you said, it's sort of a misnomer, because, you know, we say post-traumatic. It's not, okay. The analogy I've made, or the thing I've said, is that, you know, I had a pretty caustic childhood, you know, mental, physical abuse, whatever. Anything I went through in the Marine Corps, I was trained for. I anticipated, I expected. The stuff before that, not so much. However, it's the traumatic part of it is real. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be combat. It doesn't have to be, you don't even have to be beat up in boot camp or anything. You could have had a pretty normal career. The trauma comes from the whiplash effect of going from being in a uniform, being proud, being, you know, I know who I am, to holy hell, who am I?
Yeah.
You know, and that's the trauma. And that's the weird thing, because, well, and one of the people I was talking to recently, in fact, it might be the interview that's launching tomorrow. You know, he was talking about how, you know, if say you're a pilot and you are a pilot for, you know, 20, 30 years or whatever, and all of a sudden, or, you know, you retire, you're not wearing a pilot's uniform anymore, but you're still a pilot.
Pilot, yeah.
You know, you still identify with that. I mean, there's, to you, when you wake up in the morning, I'm a pilot, and it's the same thing for us. And it's just that, you know, we are pilots who carried guns and, you know, who blew shit up and, you know, things like that. So we're just extreme, you know, pilots. So yeah, you're right. It has the trauma part has almost nothing. Certainly it's exacerbated when you are in one of those, you know,
situations.
Right. But that doesn't have to be.
Thank you for spending this time with us. If you enjoyed the content we shared with you, please subscribe, review, and share this show with your friends. Veramore, the dating app, and Hero Harbor, the social connection tool for heroes, are both in the app stores. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as Veramore, Veramore_app, or Hero Harbor.